You're watching 13 News, Kansas News Leader.
Good evening, I'm Melissa Bruner.
And welcome into the news at 6. I'm Ralph Hipp. Our skies were a bit overcast, generally calm this Thursday evening, but there are some big changes coming our way very soon.
Jeremy Goodwin has been keeping an eye on this all week. He's in the Weather Center with the latest. Jeremy?
Ralph, Melissa, we do have dry conditions in northeast Kansas right now, but severe weather is likely tomorrow. Let's check out the Capitol Federal live storm tracker. And for now, all dry in our area. The Storm Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service, does have a significant risk of severe weather across much of eastern Kansas tomorrow. The greatest risk, that area in red, and the potential for tornadoes will be there through the evening hours tomorrow, especially from 4 p.m. until about midnight. On Supercast, this warm front and low pressure area look to be the culprit of the rotating potential for some of these storms. But from 4 p.m. until midnight, we will have to watch tomorrow for the potential of large hail damaging winds and even tornadoes. We'll talk more about the storm system and the full 8-day forecast all coming up in just a few minutes.
Jeremy, thank you. Higher fees for hospitals are among proposals from Governor Sam Brownback to balance the state's budget. The governor today presented the Appropriations Committee with 11 changes to save $72 million. One would require hospitals to pay an additional $19 million in fees during the next fiscal year, beginning July 1st. That's in order to sustain the state's Medicaid program. Another proposal cuts Medicaid spending by $33 million by the end of June 2016 to reflect lower payments to the three health insurers managing the program. The governor also anticipates lower debt service payments on bonds issued for the National Bio and Agro Defense Building in Manhattan, saving more than $12 million over the next 2 years. We've posted the entire list of amendments at WIBW.com.
Plenty of sunshine headed my way. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day.
The Indian Hills Early Morning Singers kicked off the 14th annual Auburn Washburn Foundation breakfast this morning, where how those budget talks might impact school funding was a top topic. Outgoing USD 437 Superintendent Dr. Brenda Dietrich celebrated staff and students for the things happening in the district. She also introduced incoming Superintendent Dr. Scott McWilliams. We asked both of them how the governor's block grant bill might impact districts down the line.
We are all grappling to understand the impact of that grant on our funding. There are certain things that we know we're going to need to do if it goes forward. We're also waiting to hear what's happening with the court case. So there are just so many unknowns still. Although, we do know that funding will be something that we're just going to have to struggle with for the next couple of years.
I think school districts still have a lot to learn about exactly what it's going to mean to each individual school district. I think it's wise to look at all the facts, partner up with the Board of Education, gain as much feedback from the community as possible, and then ultimately make wise financial decisions that's in the best interest of kids that can be sustained long term.
McWilliams officially takes over the superintendent's role July 1st. He has a contract running through June 2018.
From the County Commission now, county commissioners voting today to privatize the county coroner's office in a story we've been following. The commissioners all voted to keep the current contract with Dr. Charles Glenn, but the vote would abolish the contracts of 5 of the coroner's office employees. Dr. Glenn could hire those workers for his company, Mid-America Autopsy and Pathology Services, but he's not required to do that. People who spoke out against the plan say they don't believe the company qualified.
The company has no experience, no employees, save one, and no track record. I, for one, have concerns about turning over $500,000 to a company with such limited ability and experience.
I remember the way things were before Dr. Glenn came on board, and I don't want to get into a lot of details. I don't think that's appropriate, but Dr. Glenn has turned things around.
Administrators suggest the current employee's contract expires May 1st, and we have no word on whether Dr. Glenn might hire them. Commissioners today also directed their Public Works Director Tom Vlock to go ahead with a pre-application process which could net them a federal Tiger grant to help pay for the new Willard Bridge. That application is due May 4th. Commissioners also asked Tom Vlock to find out how much more time and effort would be associated with that final application to prepare this. Vlock suggested possibly hiring an outside source to write it, and that application is due on the 5th of June. The man convicted of a 2010 shooting death will spend more than 11 years behind bars. Stephen McComber sentenced today in Shawnee County Court to 136 months in prison. He'd been convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the June 2010 shooting death of James Lofton after a fight outside Lofton's home. McComber had earlier been sentenced to some 55 years in prison. That was tossed out by the state appeals court because the court had allowed evidence of prior convictions on McComber's record that they said should not have been admitted and suggested for the sentencing there. The Shawnee County sentence is going to be added to an 80-year term on Marshall County charges for the kidnapping of a woman and shooting of a sheriff's deputy after he'd fled Topeka in the hours following the Lofton shooting.
Due to that budget meeting we told you about earlier, Governor Sam Brownback did not attend the 18th Annual Crime Victims' Rights Conference in Wichita as previously planned. The conference brings together law enforcement, victims advocates, and social service providers to learn about available resources and services for crime victims. The Kansas Attorney General's office also sponsors this event. Brownback did send a short video. He thanked attendees for their work in helping crime victims, saying they make the state a better place for it. It's time to download a new app. Uber is running in Topeka. The ride-sharing company Uber began offering rides this afternoon, not just in Topeka, but also Lawrence, Manhattan, and Leavenworth. The expansion comes just days after Governor Brownback vetoed a bill that would have required state background checks and broader insurance coverage for drivers. Uber already offers service in Wichita, Kansas City, and Johnson County. Online instructions for how to sign up and how you could also take advantage of 3 free rides are posted for you right now at WIBW.com.
There's a lot of Washburn blue at one Topeka home which has now been renovated for you to see beginning this weekend. Washburn President Jerry Farley's home is the designer show house in the 35th annual event. You can begin touring the home in the Westboro area at 3130 Southwest Shadow Lane to raise money for Child Care Aware. This year's theme is stately elegance. Organizers say there's something for everyone who views it. The shows begin at 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and we have the full list of the hours and where you can buy tickets, plus get a sneak peek inside the home. Find that at WIBW.com. Canine dog teams from all over Kansas went through their certification training, have been doing so this week in Pottawatomie County. The canines go through the recertification training every year. 29 dog teams in all going through different training scenarios. Today, the canine officers were tasked with a home narcotics search. 4 different drugs were spread throughout the basement of that home, and the dogs were sent to find where they were hidden. They are taught to either scratch or sit when their nose sniffed out the target. Even though the dogs are trained to be tough on the streets, their work is still similar to doing a trick and getting a treat for it.
Totally doing it for their reward, and whether it's a Kong, whether it's a PVC pipe or a tennis ball, it's a big game to them, and you just make it fun for the dog.
Friday will be the final day for that certification training. We're going to have more on the story, details about the dog teams in our report coming up from Carrie Larson on 13 News at 10 o'clock, and hope you'll check it out at that time. At 10 on the Canines. Area students took to the outdoors learning how it shapes our lives.
We'll talk about that coming up, plus a little boy's journey to overcoming obstacles that started before he was even born. Next.
You're watching 13 News at 6 with Melissa Bruner and Ralph Hipp. 13 News, Kansas News Leader. You're watching 13 News, Kansas News Leader.
Early intervention is key in helping children overcome their challenges. For one family you'll meet later tonight, it started before their son was even born.
Stephanie Seth was 18 weeks pregnant when she and her husband Gerald learned Kyson had spina bifida. Kyson's case was so severe they were told he would likely be born paralyzed, unable to breathe on his own, not even able to lift his head. Then they were told about a relatively new surgery done in the womb that could give Kyson a chance for a more normal life. You'll see what they did and just how Kyson is doing today, tonight on 13 News at 10.
Shawnee County students were taking to the outdoors, learning how it shapes all of our lives. We had more than 15 students outside of the Kansas Historical Society, and the students got a hands-on learning experience to find how nature and environment dictate how our lives go. The History and Environmental Fair aimed to teach the students how Kansas have been living green for generations, really. Displays and the nature trail also showed the students about many environmental issues and the issues that are involved in that. Our issue for the weather is possible big changes on the way for Friday.
We're eyeing a chance for severe storms, and Jeremy Goodwin has the latest on when they might arrive next in his forecast.
This is your 13 weather forecast with Jeremy Goodwin.
Welcome back to 13 News at 6. We still have a risk of seeing damaging storms tomorrow late in the day, especially between 4 p.m. and about midnight. Today was a beautiful afternoon. The high temperature in Topeka made 64. Lawrence had 65 today. Manhattan 65. Concordia was 65 degrees. Just a beautiful afternoon. The winds have been fairly light. Temperature close to average, just a little below what's considered standard for this time in late April. The record high 92 back in 1939, and our rainfall total today 0. We've had a very dry 2015 so far, more than 2.5 inches behind schedule, but heavy rain likely tomorrow. Some of the storms tomorrow probably are going to be severe. Outside now from the Capitol Federal live sky cam, we have a lot of sunshine overhead as we look out toward the Kansas Expo Center, the Capitol Dome, and of course downtown Topeka. On the horizon, it is 64 degrees. Just a few thin clouds overhead. No rain right now, and a southeast wind at 16 miles per hour. Latest temperatures remain comfortable. Manhattan 63, already down to 59 in Emporia. Hiawatha has 65 now. As we look across the rest of the state, you'll see that our conditions have remained dry. Northwest Kansas, we actually had a tornado warning briefly with this storm just northwest of Goodland, and now it is just a thunderstorm. Does not have any rotation with it, but that's just a sign of things that may be coming our way for tomorrow. So this evening, if you're going out for a walk, jog, any errands, want to pick up groceries, whatever you've got to do, all clear, dry, a few clouds, but no rain chance. Rain is likely on Friday morning, could have some rumbles of thunder. The severe weather will hold off until the afternoon and evening on Friday, and these storms could be very, very strong. Now, the Storm Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service, they're based out of Norman, Oklahoma, and they specialize in severe weather. They are placing a fairly high risk of severe weather from Topeka all the way down to the Pittsburgh area and Wichita as well. But the greatest risk in the nation for severe storms tomorrow is going to be right there, including Topeka, Emporia, Manhattan. Now, there's still a risk of severe weather north of that as well, but the greatest risk of severe weather tomorrow in that bubble could have rotating storms, and tornadoes will be possible. Here's the timing on the system. Supercast 5 p.m. tomorrow. Here's a line of storms, and these are likely to become severe mid-afternoon to early evening, making their way north and east, and any time from 4 p.m. until about midnight, a fairly high risk of seeing strong to severe storms in our region. On Supercast, a closer look, this warm front embedded in the storms will be the focus mechanism for some of the rotation in the storms. Anything that forms along or just to the south of that warm front would have the chance to rotate. Could create funnel clouds, maybe even tornadoes. So that's what we'll be watching very closely all night tonight and through the day tomorrow. And along with the warm front, we also have this very powerful jet stream aloft. Winds 150 to 170 miles per hour coming in from the southwest. So surface winds southeast, winds aloft, southwest, by the crisscrossing of the winds, lots of moisture, warm front, low pressure at the surface, all that stuff comes together for a risk of tornadoes. Again, 4 p.m. until midnight tomorrow, the greatest risk. We'll be tracking it all day long. 8-day forecast, the rain ends early on Saturday morning, so the weekend looks beautiful. Just don't think that Saturday's a washout with that thunderstorm symbol. It ends early. Okay. Sunday's a nice day. But again, tomorrow, 4 p.m. till midnight, we'll be streaming on WIBW.com. We'll break into TV as needed. Of course, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. We'll be covering the storms all day long.
You'll clear it out so that the lawn can be mowed this weekend.
Absolutely. By 10 a.m., it looks like.
Good. Thank you.
We'll hold him to it. All right. Thank you, Jeremy.
Well, some of the Topeka Roadrunners came away with some divisional awards today. Find out who coming up.
And I'm sure we'll say weather permitting, it should be fine. The Kansas Jayhawks and the Kansas State Wildcats are getting ready for their spring football games this weekend. We'll talk about that next.
"13 Sports" with Chris Lilly.
Hello everyone, open skies, the sun, and yes, that faint smell off in the distance, that's the smell of football. This year's K-State scrimmage is believed to be the first official K-State spring game ever held outside of Manhattan, and could boast an even larger crowd when the Wildcats hit the road for Kansas City, a different venue for the Wildcat faithful.
It's going to be really cool. It's going to be different. We're going to be out of our normal realm of Bill Snyder Family Stadium. It's just going to be really nice to treat our Kansas City fans to basically a home game for them, so that'll be neat.
And the Kansas Jayhawks, they had Fan Appreciation Day and an open spring practice as the Jayhawks get ready for their spring game. Players got out onto Memorial Field and went through drills getting ready for their spring game, which is at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Besides having a new head coach in David Beatty, it'll be interesting to see which quarterback will come out of that quarterback battle between Montel Kozar and Michael Cummings. And we'll see how that plays out. A beautiful day out in Lawrence, and hopefully we get to keep the nice weather. And the Kansas Jayhawks women's basketball team has moved on from Bonnie Henriksen, and now she has done the same. Henriksen is now a Gaucho. She was hired by UC Santa Barbara. She was at Kansas from 2004 until this last season and led the Jayhawks to the Sweet 16 in back-to-back seasons, 2012 and 2013. The Jayhawks went to 5 women's NITs. She has 18 years of D1 college head coaching experience. The Jayhawks went 15-17 overall and 5-13 in the Big 12 last season. The NAHL Divisional Awards were handed out today, and a few Roadrunners coming away with some hardware. Daniel Brickley was named to the All-South Division team as a defender, Matej Tomek as a goalie, Jack Kelly got Academic Achievement Award, and Tomek also came away with the South Division Goaltender of the Year Award. Tomek is going to the University of North Dakota. Good news Thursday as the team starts their playoff series against Lone Star tomorrow. And the Washburn Rural Golf Team had themselves a day yesterday on the golf course. The boys shot a school record 281 four-man score, and those 4 were Ryan Clatterbuck, Parker Beal, Andrew Beckler, and Lucas McCullough. And that helped the Junior Blues win the Free State Invitational, where there were 23 schools. The 281 score is second to Capen's 279 in 2010, 2 strokes away from tying the state record. Congratulations to them. A good day on the golf course. And that's it for sports. Ralph and Melissa, back to you.
Chris, thank you. From Lawrence, we also know Coach Beatty was out there glad handing with the students and meeting them and say, come to the game this fall after they get their spring games. Chris, thank you.
And we're going to see what you'll need to know about the weather before you make those tee times for tomorrow. We'll check back with Jeremy next.
Is your 13 weather forecast.
Still a possibility of strong storms tomorrow. Severe weather likely in the evening. This is how Supercast looks. That batch of rain in central Kansas by 5 p.m. making its way north and east. Large hail damaging winds and even tornadoes will be possible through tomorrow evening across northeast Kansas. Our low tonight will be near 50. Tomorrow's high 67. The risk of severe storms begins around 4 p.m. Should end around or just after midnight tomorrow night.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
A lot of the area schools moved some of the sporting events to tonight instead of tomorrow because of that severe storm chance.
As they've done with the Kansas Relays, getting all that done. Time for us to depart right now. Wheel of Fortune, and we have a couple of Big Bang Theories, and we'll see you again at 10 right here.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Get the latest news, weather, and sports on WIBW.com or follow WIBW on Twitter and Facebook. WIBW-TV, Heartland Regional Emmy Award for Evening Newscast.